The 2014 women's roster. The next step on our quest to determine who are the greatest 4 superstars of all time. So far, we have tackled the 2016 and the 2019 women's roster, and in the last video, you guys actually voted Becky Lynch as the greatest female superstar of 2019. So this is what the current standings look like. And don't worry, we will absolutely be getting onto the men's rosters very soon. Let me know in the comments which men's roster you would like to see me tackle first. But for now, we are going to be diving into the 2014 women's roster, and let me tell you, there are certainly some names on this 2014 women's roster that I even forgot existed, so buckle up as we revisit and rank every female superstar on the 2014 women's roster. Kicking things off with AJ Lee. I mean, come on now, this isn't even a case of how good AJ Lee was in 2014. AJ Lee was 2014 in the WWE, holding the Divas title for 208 days in total. AJ Lee was nothing short of the face of the women's division in 2014. Over the course of 3 separate title runs, AJ would initially win the Divas title all the way back in June of 2013 at Payback against the champ at the time, Caitlyn. He would then go on to hold the title for an astounding 295 days, the longest ever Divas title reign, before dropping the title to Paige on the Raw after WrestleMania 30. She would then remain off TV for almost 3 months before returning to Monday Night Raw and reclaiming her title from Paige at the end of June. After this 47-day reign and dropping the title back to Paige, AJ Lee decided she was not done with the Divas title. And at Night of Champions 2014, for the 3rd time in a triple threat match against Paige and Nikki Bella, she would go on to win her 3rd and final Divas title and hold it for 63 days. Pairing this absolutely dominant performance in the Divas division in 2014 with just incredible in-ring ability and incredible character, one of the best female entrance themes of all time, AJ Lee is nothing short of being in the S tier in 2014. Alexa Bliss. 2014 was basically the beginning of Alexa's professional wrestling career, starting down in NXT until July of 2016. Alexa Bliss is someone who has honestly been super talented in ring ever since her early days in NXT. Also, just somebody who has always been naturally charismatic and overall just cut out to be an absolute top star in the WWE. Unlike a lot of newcomers, Alexa Bliss was pretty much already a star in the making in 2014 and had a very promising year. As it was her rookie year, I definitely can't put her all the way at the top, but I think this was certainly an A-tier performance for a rookie year. Up next, we have Alicia Fox. Despite taking so many losses, 2014 was kind of the pinnacle of Alicia Fox's career, besides 2010, with the most matches in her career in this year at 145 matches. And despite being the fall guy, she was actually pretty good in the ring and had some decent character work too. She also had a very active year on WWE TV, appearing in a large chunk of matches across Smackdown, Raw, and NXT. However, purely from a performance perspective in 2014, it just was a pretty weak year for Alicia Fox, so I'm going to be putting Alicia Fox in the B tier. Coming up next, we have Bayley. Debuting the hugger gimmick around June of 2013, Bayley was quite a hot commodity down in NXT in 2014. Another superstar that came in and was just absolutely great to watch in ring, and overall just such an over babyface down in NXT. Her most notable match in 2014 would be her match at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, getting a title opportunity against Charlotte for the NXT Women's title. I'm certainly not a big fan of just putting rookies up in the high tiers just because they turned out to be good later on in their career, but I really feel like Bayley also is one of those superstars that's just been so good from jump, and I will actually be putting Bayley in the A tier. Aksana. Honestly, a name that doesn't really mean much to me, and I have no real recollection of anything Aksana did, and with a 91% loss record in 2014, I think it's safe to say that Aksana was not being seen as a future star on the women's roster in the WWE, and honestly just not a superstar that really exists in my memory. She had very few matches in 2014, and the few matches that she did have were tagging with Alicia Fox, but overall just a superstar I have nothing positive to say, so I'm gonna have to put Aksana down in the F tier. Becky Lynch, the superstar that you guys voted as the 2019 top superstar. Make sure to go and check out the poll that is in my community tab after this video. Get your vote in so that our leaderboard is as accurate as possible, but for now we have Becky Lynch in 2014. If I'm being completely honest, I think Becky Lynch didn't really peak in terms of gimmick until she actually changed to the bright orange hair. I think while she was rocking the brown or the brunette hair, she just felt like another generic female down in NXT to me. Although I will say she is definitely another superstar that's always been incredibly solid in ring. Overall though, I think 2014 Becky Lynch, I'm actually going to be putting in the B tier, which I know might be a bit of a surprise given Alexa and Bayley are a bit higher, but I feel like she just really really didn't stand out down in NXT. Brie Bella. And I mean, are we not incredibly glad to have her back on the Monday Night Raw roster? I have no doubts that they are going back for that tag gold, and I have no doubts that they're going to win that at WrestleMania. But let's talk about 2014 Brie Bella. Despite always feeling like the B-tier sister, Brie Bella held her own somewhat in the year of 2014. Though the majority of her matches were still as part of the Bella twins, Brie did actually have a few major singles moments, such as going after Paige for the Divas title on Raw in April and having a brief feud with AJ Lee on Raw in November. Certainly still though the less memorable of the two twins in 2014, and again just the twin that didn't really win any accolades or have anything particularly memorable, so for that reason I'm going to be putting Brie Bella in the B tier. Cameron, and boy did you guys have a lot to say on Cameron in the 2016 video. I don't know if I put Cameron down in the F or the C tier, but all I got on that video were Cameron comments that Cameron should have been way higher in 2016. And whilst I do very much appreciate what you guys were saying, and I did very much take what you said on board, 2016 for sure was not the year for Cameron. However, I do think I have some more positive things to say about Cameron in 2014. And in my opinion, I think 2014 was actually the peak of Cameron's career, with 90 matches and a fair few TV appearances. She would also appear at Elimination Chamber facing AJ Lee for the Divas title, and she was also in the 4-on-4 women's matches Survivor Series. Also, this is kind of insane to say, but Cameron actually defeated AJ Lee at Elimination Chamber. However, this was via disqualification, so she did not win the title. But Cameron beating AJ Lee at a pay-per-view is crazy to me. She was of course also a part of the Funkadactyls in this year, although they did break up mid-year. And overall, I just don't think we really got much from Cameron as a single superstar. So I'm going to still be putting Cameron down in the C tier. Charlotte Flair, or also known as Charlotte in 2014. And man, what a year Charlotte had in 2014. After Paige vacated the NXT women's title on April 24th, Charlotte would go on to win an 8-woman tournament to determine the new champion, defeating Natalya in the finals to claim the title. And not only did she win the title, but she would go on to hold this title for 258 days until February of 2015. The most notable matches during her title reign included Charlotte versus Bayley at NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way and against Sasha Banks at NXT TakeOver Revolution. Overall, 2014 was an incredible year for Charlotte, and she's someone as well who since the beginning has been such an incredible in-ring performer. I am going to be putting 2014 Charlotte in the A tier. Emma. 2014 was actually a great year for Emma, and honestly might have been one of, if not the best year we saw throughout her somewhat bizarre career, honestly. Emma was absolutely everywhere in 2014, from facing Paige for the NXT women's title down in NXT, to going one-on-one with Nikki Bella on Smackdown, to teaming up with AJ Lee on Monday Night Raw. And honestly, her win record was great this year, winning the majority of her matches, which feels like a weird thing to say for Emma, honestly. A little bit of a generic superstar in my opinion, but honestly someone else who I think is incredible in the ring. I'm going to be putting Emma in the B tier. Eva Marie. The more years I'm doing breakdowns on Eva Marie's career, the more it's starting to annoy me. Honestly, she's someone that I only really know about and care about from Total Divas, but I mean, if we're talking about Eva Marie on main roster WWE television, and as far as her in-ring ability goes, her gimmick goes, anything else to do with her goes, it has to be an F tier for me. Naomi. With the collapse of the Funkadactyls, 2014 certainly made it clear that Naomi was the star of the two between Naomi and Cameron that they would be pushing, with an almost flawless win percentage out of 90 matches in 2014. Most notably, Naomi would have a Divas title shot at Money in the Bank against Paige, and just overall she had the most progressive year of her career so far. Super talented in ring, an all-time Total Divas great, however still one of the early days of Naomi's career. I think for 2014 I'm going to be putting Naomi in the B tier. Layla. For me, Layla is definitely one of those superstars that I talked about that is someone that I did not remember much about until I started looking back at the 2014 women's roster. But I mean, let's talk about her year. Acting as Fandango's dancer for most of the year, Layla didn't really stand out as a singles competitor in 2014. Whilst not being a standout in-ring competitor, Layla has actually been a pretty entertaining character, and the more stuff I watched on Layla, the more I realized that she was actually pretty underrated. Or maybe I just didn't rate her at the time, but I really think in retrospect, Layla was someone who had potential in the WWE. However, due to a lackluster year, I can't really put Layla any higher than the C tier. Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella was without a shadow of a doubt one of the defining women of 2014. Although her infamous dominant reign as Divas champion would not really take off off until 2015. She did beat AJ Lee at Survivor Series 2014 in November to win the Divas title. From that point on, Nikki Bella held the title for 300 days, losing it to Charlotte at Night of Champions in 2015. Nikki Bella has always been an absolute star in my eyes, and while she could absolutely make the argument that she's not the best in ring, I certainly think everything else makes up for it with Nikki Bella, and I think just talking about Nikki Bella in 2014, she's just untouchable in my opinion. And also not to mention the incredible runs on the greatest reality shows of all time between Total Divas and Total Bellas. Just an absolutely career-defining year for one of the greatest women in my opinion of all time. I'm going to be putting Nikki Bella up into that S tier for 2014. Natalya. Like all other years, 2014 was just pretty much another Natalya year. Lots of matches, but just nothing particularly memorable or notable from it. A decent in-ring competitor, but just nothing particularly interesting about her gimmick or in-ring persona. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting Natalya in the B tier for 2014. Rosa Mendes, another forgotten star from the Total Divas era, and honestly, just another superstar outside of Total Divas. I don't even remember her appearing on WWE TV like that. Like, she only exists in my memory on Total Divas. As for her WWE TV performance, however, I have always seen Rosa Mendes as just a mid superstar. And to be honest, despite being on the WWE roster for 7 years from 2008 to 2015, you can probably count the amount of singles matches she had on TV on one hand. And I feel as though none of those matches showed anything great whatsoever. Honestly, for that reason, I cannot put Rosa Mendes above the F tier. Sasha Banks, another superstar that you guys voted as the greatest superstar in 2016, or at least the greatest female superstar in 2016. But let's see if she fares the same in 2014. And I know I've already said this about Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, but Sasha Banks is just another one of those superstars who has been nothing short of incredibly impressive in the ring since her debut. Not a whole lot to say, however, in terms of accolades or matches in 2014, but I think Sasha Banks will be joining the rest of the horsewomen, except for Becky Lynch, in the A tier. By the way, if you're enjoying this series and enjoy these ranking videos, make sure to smash that like button and also subscribe, as I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers. Anyways, up next we have Summer Rae, and like Layla, she was also part of the whole Fandango dancer situation. However, there was just not much memorable from Summer Rae other than that. Honestly, maybe I hold a grudge against her purely from her character displayed in Total Divas, but I would love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments. Maybe you can persuade me otherwise, but Summer Rae for me is just nothing short of another F tier superstar. Tamina. I mean this in the least mean and offensive way to Tamina as an individual, but I really feel like I ought to stop wasting time and breath talking about Tamina in all of these videos. Let's just cut the crap here. We're putting Tamina in the F tier. And finally, we have the woman we've been waiting for, the woman of the hour. Hopefully she returns to the WWE one day. We have Paige. And man, where do we even begin with Paige in 2014? I mean, from becoming the inaugural women's NXT champion in 2013 to becoming a multi-time Divas champion in 2014, nobody has had a quick or unlikely rise as Paige. Paige entered 2014 as the NXT Women's Champion after beating Emma on July 24th, 2013. From there, she would make her main roster debut on the Raw after WrestleMania 30. And not only would she face AJ Lee in a title match on her main roster debut, but she would go on to put an end to the longest ever Divas title reign that same night, whilst also simultaneously still carrying her NXT Women's title from mid-2013. If there was ever a way to make the perfect main roster debut, I think holding every women's title there was at the time might just be that. However, if this sounds too good to be true, it was, as Paige was soon stripped of the NXT title due to the issues it might cause down the line. From there, she would lose the Divas title after 84 days to AJ Lee, and shortly after winning back in August. With 9 pay-per-view matches, Paige was really one of the first women to be booked like a real star in the company, and I think she certainly looked the part, backed it up in the ring, and her work ethic was like no one else in 2014. I mean, also bear in mind at this point Paige is like 20 years old, which is insane to think about. We just really cannot talk about Paige in 2014 without talking about Paige being in the S tier. Here are the final rankings of the 2014 women's roster, and here is a poll that is currently out in my community tab. Make sure to go check it out, make sure to go vote, and of course, as always, make sure to like and subscribe to the Redway channel and check out one of these videos up next.